So let's talk about the human biofield and bioenergetics, because this is something that I've really been leaning into. There's definitely things around us that we can't see. We only see 3D, but there's lots of things like our biofield that is invisible, but we can actually test it. So I'd love for you to share your understanding of the human biofield and bioenergetics.
Yeah, well, I've always been taught and by experts and my father as well that healing really and disease really starts in the invisible. It starts in the unseen. Once you see something, it is at a very late stage. That's why I don't like the idea of kind of preventive medicine saying it's early detection. Because early detection is something already that's so manifested itself on so many levels over so many years that it's really late detection, but not yet disease fully detection. So, if you look at the human body and really where things initiate, it always starts on an energetic principle. And we are energetic beings. Again, that goes back to Einstein equals MC squared. And a wonderful person, if you want to look into, is George Lakhovsky, who talked all about biophotonic and how we emit this energy and light. And if we have these disturbances in our energetic fields, that can be the initiation point and often is for manifestation of disease and dysfunction. So, again, going back so many civilizations in traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, all understood this and maybe they had different words for it, but, it was still there. And that's the beauty of what quantum physics is looking at and kind of describing for us in very scientific ways. So as whereas you could look at ancient civilizations and many like to dismiss almost what they knew and so primitive, they didn't even have any kind of technology around, and it might have been primitive words, but their understanding was probably way more advanced than most of ours was on how the human and nature works together on this energetic field. So when we look at it, we are testing at our center, not just for the biochemical, because that's usually already assessed. And by the time someone gets to our center, they've been through conventional route. They've had different types of biochemical testing and lab testing. And nowadays you could do so much on your own. There's Everlywell and Vio, and we talk, and all these things, you could find out so much, but you're still missing that kind of upstream piece, I say, which is where the bioenergetics are. That's the really subtle stuff. That is the initiation piece. And why that is so important is because if you only look downstream, you could pick up a lot of information about what's in the water. Maybe there's, different types of toxins in there and chemicals, but you can't get the why. And the why is so important. Why are these chemicals here? And that's the one question I never hear doctors asking or patients. And it is, why do I have this disease? It's not one thing to tell me that, lab results came back, you have X diagnosis, and this is how we treat X diagnosis. I wish more people would say, that sounds good, doc, and you're giving me a diagnosis, which gives me a description of my symptoms. Okay, but I still think it's my disease and different than someone else with this diagnosis. But why is it there? And Biofield, bioenergetics, energy in general answers that for us. So we're able to go at the initiation point and go deeper and find where in the energy fields is this really occurring that is allowing it to go downstream and do that. And even tapping into bioresonance and things like that and information, let's say, you could get great information on, is this electromagnetic sensitivity that's causing this dysfunction? Is it geopathic? Things that you'll never get a readout for in a lab, and things that we've seen at our center that may be the missing piece, because people go through so much and get passed from doctor to doctor and what's going on. Oh, well, maybe we'll try this. Maybe we'll try that. But if they don't have any way to analyze the biofield and get those types of answers on what can be the initiating factor for my dysfunction and disease, then it makes it really hard. You're basically throwing darts in the dark and trying to hit something, whereas the biofield, bioenergetics, energy in general allows you to put a light on it and see it clearly. So that's what's been, I think, incredibly exciting. I know for my father, when he started learning about biofield, bioenergetics, bioresonance, just energy in general, it just transformed the way he saw medicine. It was no longer that symptoms and diseases mean that much, because they kind of don't. They are still necessary. I understand that. But until you have a why and understand an initiating factor underlying the root causes, as we always say, then it's really difficult to reverse disease or even, preserve health in that sense.
I love it. We speak the same language. We're kind of on that same wavelength. So I
A
love talking to
wavelength, I
Caspar.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, the frequency wavelength, that's all part of it.
we are coherent.
Yes.